Robservations episode number 554 is brought to you by the first annual Intergalactic Imagination Connoisseurs Film Festival. Entries are open until December 1st. You're going to make your movie, right? Come on, man. Where is it? Let me see it. You always wanted to make a movie. Here's a film festival that you're almost guaranteed to get in. Make it good. It's your first time. It's your first shot. Make me proud. Make me happy. Come on, you can do it. I know you can do it. You can. All you have to do is try. No, there is no try. Do or do not. Hilary Swank looks so forlorn in this photograph. Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun and wonder, your viceroy of verisimilitude, and of course, your sommelier of cinema, your archbishop of banterbury, your chancellor of cheerfulness, your pharaoh of physical media, and of course, your existential Mr. Rogers. That's right, Robert Meyer Burnett. And I am, of course, robcasting at you imagination connoisseurs, you members of this, the Post-Geek Singularity. You know, I keep skipping these days of the show. Stuff's happening. I mean, today is a 4th show day. It's long. I just got off with Az. I got to tell you, I didn't know Az, or as you might know him online, Heel versus Babyface. I met him via Midnight's Edge. I love this guy. He's like my brother from another mother. And it was he who suggested doing a prisoner show, and even an episode like The Girl Who Was Death, which we both agree is probably the worst episode of The Prisoner. Only he and I could pontificate for 2.5 hours. And what I love is they all turn back around to Star Trek. It's great, because Az's favorite science fiction show of all time is Star Trek The Next Generation. And as you all know, I produced all the special features for the Star Trek The Next Generation Blu-rays. So it's also near and dear to my heart. So it's always good to talk with him. And I weep for the future because we only have one regular episode to go. And then we're into the 2-part finale, which I don't even know how we're going to discuss that. But we are shocking, positively shocking. I just want to point out that hopefully tomorrow, this will debut. Now, I have to give a shout out to Mr. Jason Spriggs, who I forgot again. Jason has been he won the poster contest, the Post-Geek Singularity contest for the first annual Intergalactic Imagination Connoisseurs Film Festival. Jason's an incredible artist himself, graphic designer. He always does our prisoner, the inset graphics for our prisoner show. Well, Jason also did some graphics for the Let's Get Physical Media show, and I want to thank him for that. So, Jason, thank you twice. I'm sorry I forgot to thank you on the Prisoner show today. I forgot. Yes, you get caught up in your reveries, and you forget to thank people. I don't like that. When I forget to thank people, it's not good. It costs nothing to thank people, especially when they've done good work for you. When I'm totally abusing our friendship and your talent. So, one day I'm going to put you on a paying basis. That's my hope. That is my hope. So, as many of you know, I think one of the annoying things about our streaming realm, our streaming world, is that, you get enamored of a show, right? You like the show, and for whatever reason, the show, it gets canceled. And it gets canceled, and, you kind of wonder, sorry, I'm upping my volume here. I realize it's a little low. You get invested, and then they cancel it. Like we found out yesterday, the Umbrella Academy, Netflix renewed the Umbrella Academy for the 3rd season. I mistakenly forgot the Sparrow Academy storyline has not been done. The Hotel Academy, they're jumping the Hotel Academy. the hotel storyline, the third Umbrella storyline, it looks like they're leapfrogging, going straight to the Sparrow Academy. Sorry, I was just eating my lunch, which is why I was late. Please forgive. Anyway, where was I? Yes. So they just renewed that show about being in Paris. It's Darren Star, right? Guy who created Melrose Place. And Central Park West, if you ever watched that show, I think it was Darren Star. He made that show about the girl that goes to Paris. That got renewed. So now I don't know this for a fact, but when it comes to Netflix, it seems like, they have a lot of the times they'll cancel a show after 3 seasons. Like, for instance, they picked up the Eric McCormack science fiction show that he was a producer on, Travelers, and they picked it up for a Netflix exclusive. They basically, I guess they bought the whole series, and they produced the 3rd season, and then when it was over, they canceled it. Designated Survivor, which is a network show that I really like. Kiefer Sutherland played the designated survivor, and I thought the first 10 episodes of the first season was some of the great, I call it airport reading TV of the last couple of years, and then they had a long hiatus. Their writing staff went to shit, and the last half of the first season was goddamn terrible. I never watched the 2nd season, to be honest, and then I came back, and Netflix picked it up, and they made a 3rd season, which I quite enjoyed. Canceled. And, the reason being, you go into a 4th season, a 5th season, you got to renegotiate with your talent and pay more money. Now, I would imagine, and again, I don't know this for a fact, that Netflix knows out of the gate pretty much who's watching their shows. Now, I would think that, if you have a decent show, good production values, Academy Award-winning actress, let's say, like, for instance, Hilary Swank in Away, there's so much material that's being dropped on TV and on pay-per-view, on streaming, is everywhere, that you have to sometimes give shows time to find their audience. But apparently, Netflix is not one of those places. And I understand. I mean, they have to make their economics work. And are they going to throw good money after not so good money? If you have a show on Netflix that doesn't, in the first couple of months, really catch on, and they have a number, with whatever live action show I'm sure they have a number based on the cost. So if a show costs, I don't know, let's just say for the sake of argument, $50 million to do 10 episodes, right? So that $50 million, they know that, okay, a $50 million show should be worth this many views because they base views and subscribers, and it's all broken down into certain analytics. But they have a number that their shows, based on how much they cost and how many people watch them, that's probably their metric. So the thing is, what's interesting about that is, let's say they have a show that's really good, but it just hasn't been discovered yet. I remember, and the way Netflix shows work a lot of the time, like, I had never really paid any attention to a foreign show, I think is it Spanish, called Money Heist. Never even heard of it. Then, in the same month, I probably heard about Money Heist from 20 different people. I read about it in articles. So whatever happened, they had their because they don't promote. I mean, how would I know Money Heist? I don't know. I haven't seen a trailer for it. It's some foreign show. How would I know? I know because suddenly it becomes part of the zeitgeist, the whisper stream, if you will. And you just hear it. It's like the old plate of shrimp clip that I played from Repo Man from 1984. When someone says shrimp, plate of shrimp, then all of a sudden you hear plate, and plate of shrimp is everywhere. Suddenly you're aware of it. You start thinking about it, and you see plates of shrimp all over the place. Well, that's kind of the way certain things, pop culture things are. Like, they've been percolating, and then they finally bubble over, and suddenly they just spill out into whether it's the YouTube punditry space or the TV, Twitter, articles, whatever. Then people start talking about it. Money Heist was a show like that. I'd never heard of it, and then I just started hearing about it from all these different people. And then I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm sure that Netflix knows this, and like there are a lot of their young adult shows, like that show about the girl that goes to Paris, just got a 2nd season renewal. So clearly, fairly new show. Started seeing ads for it. Even the ads I saw a trailer. I was like, okay, that looks cute. But it's not something I would get around to right away. I might, pick it up if Elizabeth was watching it or something, but it's not something that was on my radar. What was on my radar, another space show, Away, Hilary Swank's Away. Academy Award winner. She's starring as a woman who's leaving behind her family and going to Mars. I was hoping to, catch up with it over the Christmas season. But now, after one season, it's been canceled. They're not picking it up. And that means, for whatever reason, it didn't meet their immediate needs. Netflix, they know. They know. It's like box office. The first weekend, is this movie going to make money? Netflix knows with their shows, and they don't have time to wait for a show to build an audience. They don't. I mean, they got too much stuff they've got going on, and they're spending so much money on programming that if their programming isn't doing what they want it to do right away, it's not part of their strategy that they're going to sit around and wait for it to catch on. And I don't quite know how I feel about that. I'm bummed out because I don't want to get invested in a show that is open-ended, that does not end on a definitive note. Whereas, look, The Queen's Gambit, which is probably my favorite thing I've seen all year, as I talked about the other day, you know how much I love that. That was a limited series. Is there going to be a season 2? I don't know. It's based on a book. I would presume not. I mean, as much as I liked Anya Taylor-Joy in that role, and I could look at her all day long, especially when she has red hair, I just don't. It seems to me that that's all it was. I mean, Scott Frank, who wrote and directed it, also did Godless, and they didn't do Godless Part 2. I like the idea of these limited shows, or these Harlan Coben foreign productions that Netflix purchased. I like watching these seasons, these mystery shows that run 10 seasons or 10 episodes, one and done, and it's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. I think that that's something that Netflix does that can be unique. But it is kind of a bummer when a show that you like something like Away that I was really looking forward to, that the showrunners who made it, when the show got ordered, they just assumed it was going to go on to a second season. Now, the different thing is that Netflix, unlike regular television, the old model used to be that the networks would commission a pilot. And you all know what a pilot is. A pilot is an initial show, and based on that initial episode, are they going to carry that pilot? Are they going to give it a series order? It used to be that way. Well, now, like Netflix or other streamers, will like a concept, they'll like a pitch, they'll like a script or whatever, and they will, and even networks now do this, they'll take an episode to series. And they'll take a show to series, and they'll commission 6 episodes or 10 episodes or 13 episodes or something, and they'll make all those episodes even before something is aired based on what they've seen already. And Netflix does that. But for Netflix, the one thing about Netflix is when they're producing a show, imagine you're at the Netflix supermarket. Each show is just a can. It's a can of peas or a can of beans or something on the shelf. So if Netflix makes a show like Away, that show is always going to be on Netflix's shelf. And eventually, people are going to watch Away forever. It'll be there forever for people to watch. And it's a show, if people are looking for shows about space or astronauts or science fiction, it'll be there. It'll be cross-referenced. It just didn't do the numbers out of the gate that Netflix hoped, which is a bummer. Because now, having not watched it out of the gate, I'm less inclined to go back and watch it, knowing it doesn't end definitively. It's open-ended. I might want to catch up with it anyway, because I'll watch anything about astronauts and space. But we haven't really known anything about how Netflix operates, and they don't give out their numbers because they don't have to give out their numbers. Because one of the things about streaming is if you make a hit show, like say a Stranger Things, it becomes a zeitgeist show or a big show. Netflix doesn't then have to come back and renegotiate, and if it's a zeitgeist show, the people that are making it, they're happy to come back, and Netflix is probably paying them well, but they're not going to be held over a barrel for contract renegotiations and things like that. Well, today at 2:22, literally just about an hour ago, Deadline had a quick article that was written by Peter White. Netflix reveals data around show cancellation as Bella Bajaria and Ted Sarandos discuss new strategy. Now, I thought this was interesting because you don't really hear about this. Now, this doesn't give us much insight. It gives us some insight, and I definitely thought this article was worth sharing. Netflix has countered accusations that it disproportionately cancels more shows than other networks and platforms by revealing data around the percentage of shows that it renews. The streamer's global head of TV, Bella Bajaria, I think it's Bajaria, revealed that it has a program renewal rate of around 67%, something that she said was in line with industry standards. That sounds about right to me. But Bajaria and her boss, co-CEO Ted Sarandos, speaking at the Paley International Council Summit, admitted that it sometimes feels that Netflix cancels more shows than others. Sarandos said it was disproportionately big news when a show gets canceled at Netflix. Well, you know, he's probably right about that, but I have to say one of the reasons it's big news is because Netflix, a lot of those Netflix shows, they're really good. So when you sit down to watch them, you realize that, oh, these are quality shows that we're watching, and you get invested in them as we do, and you don't want to see them go away. Especially when you're attracted to something that has a top liner like a Hilary Swank, Oscar winner, and she's playing an astronaut. I mean, a lot of people these days, 25 years ago, they didn't love space stories as much as they do now, but that's definitely a hot button genre that people are going to gravitate towards. They just didn't gravitate towards it soon enough. Even I, who love space shows, I'm like, look, I got For All Mankind to watch, and then behind that, I got other things. There is a similar show that dropped on Netflix, and let me see. Let me get this quite. It's a French film. I think it's that. Yes. Proxima is a new... let me read this. This dropped on Netflix 5 days ago. The French astronaut drama Proxima could be a prequel to Netflix's canceled series Away. It's a powerful, emotional story about an astronaut and her daughter. This literally dropped last week. Netflix canceled the Hilary Swank-led science fiction drama Away after just one season, but fans of the series will find a similarly low-key, emotion-driven astronaut story in the French film Proxima, which hits VOD platforms on November 6th. Oh, this isn't on Netflix. It's on VOD. Anyway, laser-focused on the physical, emotional, and social trials of an aspiring woman who must endure to be part of a one-year mission to the International Space Station, Proxima could easily be a prequel to Away. Now, clearly, there's something about female astronauts leaving their family for extended periods of time that went into the zeitgeist and caused something like Proxima to get made in France and to have Away made here. And a lot of that, I'll tell you where I think some of that came from. People saw The Martian. They watched Ridley Scott's The Martian, a wonderful film, one of my favorite movies of the last decade, especially the extended version of it. And you had Jessica Chastain, you had female astronaut crew members, and they had families. And I think when people see movies like that and they don't realize how long these trips can take and the toll that it could take on families, I think something like A Martian permeates pop culture and people catch up with it after the movie was in theaters, then they catch up with it on cable and home video and other ancillary markets. And there are people in Hollywood, the idea of, oh my God, women astronauts who are gone for extended periods of time. What does that mean for their families? This is a triggering thought that causes a number of screenplays or shows to be developed based on this very concept that was derived by people watching a movie like The Martian. That's how come that's how come you get an Armageddon and a Deep Impact. Now, I can't exactly say why that occurred, but there was something in the cultural zeitgeist at one point that it probably, over the space of, it'll happen like at the same time. Like The Martian, I think was a triggering event for people because there's so many ideas that could jump out of that movie. And a lot of people keyed on that around the world. So that's why you have movies like Proxima and or Away, because they're basically dealing with the same thing. Mothers, astronauts that are on extended voyages, and what does that mean to their being a mother? So anyway, back to this article. If you look at season 2s and more, we actually have a renewal rate of 67%, which is industry standards. Bajaria said, we also do make a large amount of first season shows which sometimes feel that we have more first season cancellations. But if you look at the renewal rate, it's really strong. I also think you have to look at The Crown, with season 4 launching now, Grace and Frankie, and The Ranch. We've had long-running shows, and we're always going to have a mix that are great to be told in limited series form and shows that go on for multiple seasons. She added, I've been in the business a long time, and I've been on all different sides of those cancellations. It's always painful to cancel a show, and nobody wants to do that. We order straight to series in the first rather than make pilots, which results sometimes in more season 1 cancellations. Now, that is something important to remember. Netflix is not commissioning a pilot, and you shoot a pilot and then they decide whether they're going to go to series. They pull the trigger and they go to series. So that is a huge benefit to anybody who's working in television. If you can get a Netflix show and you get to go to series, you know you're working for at least an entire first season, depending on what you guys agree on. That's amazing. In the course of the animated series that I've been working on for Netflix, they gave it a 3-season commitment. So if you like the first season, and I think you will, if you like adult anime and you're a fan of well, I won't say what you're a fan of, but if you are a fan of certain things, I think you're going to get a very satisfying experience, and you can know that there's going to be at least 3 8-episode seasons. If you're invested, that's pretty cool. And then she goes on to say, we've had long-running shows, and we're always going to have a mix that are great to be told in limited series form and shows that go on for multiple seasons. Because, again, remember, the amount of money that you're paying for a show, it exponentially increases. If a show becomes a long-running hit, everybody gets salary bumps and things like that. And for Netflix, it doesn't necessarily mean much if you've got 3 seasons or 8 seasons of a show. Their economic model, I would assume, 3 seasons and done, unless something is an extraordinary hit, is really good for them. And I think it's not a bad model. 3 seasons, not a bad model at all. But if you have a bigger successful show like a Stranger Things or maybe an Ozark, you carry it out. Maybe do a 4th season. Because when they go up on the Netflix grocery store shelf, everything is kind of the same, really. So they're there. I mean, there's no, I don't see that Netflix from an economic standpoint has an incentive to do 7 seasons of a show unless the show is not that expensive, like a Grace and Frankie, I would imagine. And that's a beloved show as well, but it's not something that they're going to be breaking the bank on. She added, she said, I've been in the business a long time, and I've been on all different sides of those cancellations. It's always painful to cancel a show that nobody wants to do that. We order straight to series in the first rather than make pilots, which results sometimes in more season 1 cancellations. Even with that, I still believe a season order is a better creative expression of a writer's ideas, so I think that's the right model for us. I think so too. Shows that failed to make it past 1 season include the space drama Away, Teenage Bounty Hunters, I am not okay with this, and The Society. Sarando said that one of the other reasons was that success was judged against an old metric. It seems like in this new age of television, the business model is a little different. The things that get marked success prior to Netflix and OTT really had been getting to syndication, and that was the goal, meaning that what you wanted a TV series that would run long enough. Traditionally, it was 100 episodes. And that's usually for network shows, that's about 3 seasons. If a show runs more than 3 seasons and you get to that magic 100-episode mark, you get to go into syndication, which means it gets sold around the world, it gets resold in America, and you make a ton of money. Because television shows are usually made at a deficit, at least for the first couple of years. That was the goal, and anything that didn't get to 100 episodes of past the 4 didn't feel like a success. And that's, 3 or 4 seasons. Whereas I think many shows can be a success for being exactly what they are, and you could tell that story in 2 seasons, or 1 season, or 5 seasons. I think it gets talked about so much because it's measured against the old way of doing things. I 100% agree with Sarandos for saying this. He's absolutely correct. And Bajaria said that the company was now thinking of itself as a global network, where Hollywood previously was known as an exporter of content. She highlights shows like Indian Matchmaking, which is hilarious, and Queen's Gambit, as well as its plethora of shows from Korea and Europe. What gives all of us great pride at Netflix is entertaining the world, she said. I want us always to be at the forefront of that, and I love what we do in so many ways. She added that she was pleased with the variety of shows that the streamer was now making worldwide, and that, in essence, the shows she was looking to commission needed to have a distinct and authentic voice. Now, this article doesn't say much, but, I mean, it's interesting because what they're saying, I mean, they finally flat out just came out and said, look, you know what? The creators are lucky you get to get a whole series, and if you get a full 10. And if you wanted to think of it that way, you could think of it as every season that you get should be a full story, beginning, middle, and an end. And if it ends, well, then hopefully you ended on a place where it doesn't need to come back. And then build into that. Like, I think Stranger Things really worked that way. Sure, it left elements that could be cliffhanging, but for the most part, it's a season that's entirely self-contained with little added threads that can be dangling, but it's not like you're going, oh, I need to see that again. And I need to see more of that, which I think is a smart way to go. So if you have a Netflix show, you make your seasons contained. And if it becomes a breakout hit, and always leave yourself a little bit of an out, but then each season, if you think of each season, if it's 10 episodes or 8 episodes, whatever it is, creators can think of those things as being in a self-contained story and then leave yourself a little rope to dangle at the end. I think that's absolutely a viable way to go. But it's interesting to hear the folks at Netflix actually talk about this for the first time. It's not something that many people really talk about. Now, I want to do, before I jump into your letters, I did want to give a shout out. Today is actually Veterans Day, and I think it's always important to remember our men and women in uniform. My father was a World War II veteran. He always used to joke that he wanted to be able to say that he fought in World War II, but he never saw any combat. He was stationed at a communication station up in Alaska. But as I've said twice today, he did fly in a plane once, with Douglas MacArthur, who was stopping off at Alaska. He was jumping off to somewhere else. But, yeah. And I have many friends that are veterans. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Crisis Medicine, Tactical Casualty Care, the medical series, the lecture series that I have directed and edited and shot and produced for my friend Mike Schertz, who is a former Green Beret. He's a Special Forces medic. He's an MD, and he's an 18 Delta. So if anybody's interested, you can check that class out. If you're ever worried about being in an active, violent event, whether it's a bombing or a school shooting or any kind of a natural disaster, an explosion, if you take Tactical Casualty Care, it is designed to give you everything you need to know to provide pre-hospital care for yourself and anyone else who finds themselves in an active, violent event. And you can find that at crisismedicine.org. Wait, hang on. Is it .org? Maybe it's not. Hang on. Let me see. Let me get this right. Yes. Okay. Pardon me. It's not. I don't know what I was saying. It is Crisis Medicine. Crisis CRISIS dash medicine medicine.com. I'm very proud of this class, and to create it, we worked with local law enforcement and SWAT and other members of the military to create it, and it's pretty great. It's based on the TCC. Tactical Casualty Care guidelines that the United States government has come up with, the military came up with actually, that have now been applied to civilian use. Very proud of having worked on that. So a shout out to all of our men and women in uniform, both who are currently on duty and those who have served. Thank you all for your service, and it is great to know that, well, you've got our backs. Anyway, that's what Veterans Day is for. Now, I want to jump into this. This comes from Renato Valli. Renato Valli says, acknowledgement to Burnetticus, Unit 1 of 1, of primary adjunct of the Post-Geek Singularity Collective. Resistance is not futile. So, New Trek. Sigh. If they don't understand the criticism of their Star Trek by longtime fans, it's because they don't understand what Star Trek really is, what Star Trek really means. All they had to do is say, yes, Discovery is in the past of the Kelvin timeline. Yes, Star Trek Picard is the future of the Kelvin timeline. There you go. Points of view might have changed. We might have given them a chance. Maybe even with less criticism, they might have produced better stories. We'll never know. I endured Star Trek Discovery Season 1 with the idea of the Kelvin timeline in the back of my head, telling myself it would be the final revelation at the end of season. I was wrong. I did the same with Season 2. I even enjoyed some bits with Captain Pike. I found the casting of Rebecca Romijn surprising and inspired. And then the agenda continued. Picard was a total disappointment. I was left empty and felt betrayed by Patrick Stewart. So much so that just now I had to look up his name on IMDb. Damn. I stopped watching Star Trek Discovery Season 3 after Episode 1. I seriously cannot remember if I watched Episode 2. I hate what they did. I hate what they're doing. I hate it while I'm watching it. I hate the frustration I feel after each episode. Gone are hope, intelligence, diplomacy, science, curiosity, earned relationships, character development, logic, and canon. It is the second time I felt like this in my life. The first time was DC Comics' New 52. That's when DC Comics rebooted its universe into the 52 universes that comprise their new multiverse. I stopped buying DC Comics. There's so much more good elsewhere. I'm doing some catching up on series. I really enjoyed Haunting of Hill House, Britannia Season 1, Gangs of London, S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7, The Boys Season 2. I'm finishing Ratchet Season 1. Fucking great, just to name a few. In a way, I think I felt obligated to watch the new Star Trek series. In pure Trek fashion, I hoped. Sorry, no more. Now, what is the new Star Trek for me? When I catch a few laughs with Major Grin on YouTube and view the recaps and reviews of the Penske File, also on YouTube. I see it was the right decision for me. You're right when you say Star Trek is its own genre of fiction. Thank you for that. I had to get it off my chest. Like we say in French, in Quebec, Canada, okay. Ça m'a fait du bien d'en parler. Parleur? Ça m'a fait du bien d'en parler. I don't know. It felt good to talk about it. Hope you have a good one. Hope we all survive 2020. Renato. Well, thank you for this letter. It's a great letter. As you know, I think I find it very difficult to watch Star Trek Discovery. I've watched every Star Trek show because I love Star Trek. I don't think I've ever watched a show for as long as I have. I mean, if you consider Star Trek Discovery, we're now, and Lower Decks, I mean, this is actually the 5th season of modern Star Trek under the Kurtzman administration. And I don't think I've ever watched 5 seasons of a show that I literally have despised as much as I despise modern Star Trek. And, I've listened to everybody tell me, no. To me, you're never going to convince me it's not bad writing, and worse, it's bad science fiction. And I understand because we live in a world now of it's a lot more feelings, and there's a lot less emphasis on logic and story development and canonical Star Trek. But see, the thing is, Star Trek has a rich legacy for me. I've been watching it my whole life, and this show, it doesn't at all try and fit into anything that's come before. It's its own thing, and I can't even enjoy it on that note. We'll see. I mean, I'm going to be very curious. This new episode that drops tomorrow, I think, is going to make me or break me. If there are reasons for whatever, we're meeting Starfleet. If it is the real Starfleet, we'll see. It could be my jumping off point. Unless something really interesting happens, which it doesn't seem to be, then I'm out. I'm out for the season. I'm out for the count. So there you go. Omar94 is here. Omar94 says, "Hi, Rob. I often, but not always, feel happy or enthusiastic about movie anniversaries, like how I've written several letters before discussing movie anniversaries this year, like Back to the Future and Goodfellas. However, when I think about how old certain movies are or will become, it makes me look at myself getting older. Oh, Omar. Join the effing club, bruh. Let me just tell you, my entire life I have spent, ask me a year and I'll tell you what movie came out that year or how I identify that year, with what movie. In 1979, there's multiple movies that came out I could tell you about that influenced me. One, of course, is Star Trek The Motion Picture, Alien, Dawn of the Dead, Phantasm, and, of course, All That Jazz. I think the movie that most made me want to be an editor. So, yes, I feel your pain, and it is shocking to me when I look back and see as you get older, it really is true. You get so busy, like 2020, I've been very busy this year, despite the fact that we are in a global pandemic that is now raging. It's now burning brighter than it's burned in the United States since it started. And, yeah. And whatever vaccine they're going to come up with is not going to be helpful for people who are already sick. But I definitely think of the years as they go by based on when the movies came out. And it's beginning to, more than ever before, I'm like, my God, that movie's that old? Like, really? When did Vanilla Sky come out? It's shocking. 7, 25 years old? My God, I've been watching David Fincher movies for that long. I mean, you can go back even further, 5 years, to Alien 3 if you want. But, I mean, it's incredible. And to read David Fincher talking about how hard it is to make films. David Fincher, like in this day and age, he's right, though. You're either making, what did he call them? Affliction movies for the fall or skin-tight movies for the summer. You're making Oscar bait movies about addicts, or you're making superhero movies for the summer. That's all movies are anymore. And this is David Fincher, one of our great filmmakers. And there's a reason why he hasn't made a movie since Gone Girl. I mean, he was doing, of course, the Netflix show Hunters, which doesn't look like it's going to come back for a third season, which is a real shame. But, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Pardon me, Omar, I interrupted your letter. I'm never as enthusiastic about myself getting older. I turned 26 on November 11th, and I always dread getting older every year due to the fact that I have Peter Pan syndrome and have been going through a quarter-life crisis for a long time. What? Dude, I have been going through a half-life crisis, and that's if I live to be like 100 plus. But I'm with you. I'm telling you. You can, in this day and age, you don't have to worry about having Peter Pan syndrome. You can be an arrested adolescent way, way, way into middle age. I'm still not done, so I'll tell you how far I can push it. I think the reason I feel that way is because of my general affinity for movies, but also TV shows, comics, and other things, as many of the stories told in the different mediums are timeless with the entertainment quality. For example, a lot of movies which came out in 1994, the year I was born, are timeless entertainment I enjoy to this day, such as The Lion King, Forrest Gump, Speed, The Mask, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, True Lies, Dumb and Dumber, Pulp Fiction, and The Shawshank Redemption. Entertainment, like those movies I just mentioned, is timeless, as I've grown up watching it and still enjoy them today, so it always sticks with me, which may explain my Peter Pan syndrome and quarter-life crisis. I don't know if you or others feel like that, but that's just me. Thanks, and live long and prosper. Oh, no, Omar. I mean, I look around at all of this stuff on my shelves, a lot of it, like my Cinefex magazines. Like I told you, like, look at this. I've shown this before on this show. Uh-oh, you know what? I forgot to switch my camera angle. So this is my first issue of Cinefex magazine. You'll notice this is the one I bought off the rack 40 years ago. I bought this, and by the way, Alien's on the back cover. So, I mean, I look at this, and Star Trek The Motion Picture and Alien, well, they're 41 years old, believe it or not, and this magazine is 40 years old. So I look at this, and Alien and Star Trek The Motion Picture are just as vibrant in my imagination now as they were when I saw them 41 years ago. I pick this up, or I read material, and I think it's, in a way, it's something new. Now that we live, I think we could call it maybe this is an affliction of the Post-Geek Singularity, that when you're a member of the Post-Geek Singularity, time, there are things that, like, because to me, I watched Star Trek the Motion Picture. I remember when I saw it like it was yesterday. It was 41 years ago. But because I'm still watching it, it's very difficult for me to conceive of the fact that 41 years have gone by. I mean, it's that's an odd thing. That's a really odd thing to deal with. And it's strange because look at Star Wars. I've been talking about Star Wars for 43 years. I'm still talking about Star Wars, like all the time. We're talking about The Mandalorian. So there's still Star Wars coming out. There's still Star Trek coming out. How are you supposed to, I mean, time is going by, but it's all, as a member of the Post-Geek Singularity, it's all a continuum. You know, comic book stories, you think about it. Crisis on Infinite Earths, 35 years old. Dark Knight Returns, Watchmen. You know, yet you still talk about these things. We had a Watchmen show come out earlier this year. And then or was it last year? I think it was earlier this year. And you think about it, you watch these things, and it's like, my God, 35 years of Watchmen or whatever. And it's tough. It's tough to, how do you age? Like, I don't have kids, so I've not had that constant reminder watching your offspring get older. I haven't had that, but still, I feel like all of everything that we love as imagination connoisseurs are constant reminders of time passing or not. I think in a way, when you watch kids, you're reminded that, oh my God, time is passing. But if you're an imagination connoisseur and you love all this stuff, it exists in a continuum, and it is time, as you said so astutely, it is timeless. So like, ooh, Back to the Future just came out on 4K. Back to the Future is in fact 35 years old. So, but you buy it on 4K, it's like, look, it's like new. I've bought Back to the Future on VHS, on Laserdisc, on DVD, on Blu-ray, and now on 4K. So it's been, and I keep buying it. Like, why? Well, why not? I guess I already filed the Blu-ray discs again. But hey, it's crazy. And it's because time, remember what Steve Miller sang, time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future. Yeah, right? Emma Bannon is here. Hello, Emma. How are you? Hey, Rob, as an epilogue to my last letter, I've just watched Is There in Truth No Beauty, a third season TOS episode, and I think this conversation between Miranda and Spock at the end of the episode is very apropos. Miranda, the glory of creation is in its infinite diversity. And Spock responds, and the ways our differences combine to create meaning and beauty. Jean Lizette, is it Ariosti? Ariosti said it better than I ever could. Live long and prosper, Rob. Well, thank you, Emma, and to you too. Emma Bannon is one of my favorite members of all of you here at the Post-Geek Singularity community. So thank you for that, Emma. What a great letter. So thanks for writing in. This one comes from our old friend, Enterprise HNCC1701H, president of the Post-Geek Singularity. Greetings. Today, I found myself wondering how the United Federation of Planets in the 23rd century and onward would respond to a pandemic. Pre-Kurtzman, given how that would likely involve centuries of suffering until Burnham came along to fix stuff. With medical tricorders testing for infected people, would it be a piece of cake and then they'd probably quarantine a planet? Not that it would be necessary, given that transporters have biofilters, though I suppose you may need a blockade for traders and shuttles. By the 24th century, medical holograms could help patients without the risk of getting medics of flesh and blood infected. By the way, if you have ethical concerns about that, like me, holographic projections of said medics would probably be preferable. Star Trek used to inspire a vision of the future which people wanted to make a reality. Secondly, this is going to go into politics, so read at your own discretion. Oh, come on. I'll read it. So I saw you retweeting a post of the Lincoln Project to donate to their cause. Given an article that you shared earlier, I thought that you would have known better. It is one thing to share a video, but to share a fundraiser? For what? They're not even part of a political organization whose candidate they're trying to elect. So The money that you give them doesn't make the candidate beholden to you, assuming that that candidate wins. That's true. But I like what the Lincoln Project is doing. I actually saw a TV show episode on them, and I'm like, I mean, they live by donations like other political organizations. They're not even effective at swaying Republican voters, as that article pointed out, with more Republicans voting for Trump. I thought you to be smarter than cheerleading a bunch of corrupt losers. Well, I think the Lincoln Project actually has done some interesting stuff. If you're going to use your platform to promote a product or service which may not work as intended, then I would argue against it. Listen, when I tweet something, it is not a tacit approval of anything one way or another. I just found it interesting and worth sharing. People always think that by me tweeting something that it's somehow I'm giving it my approval. Not at all. I'm just saying this is interesting. What do you think of this? I will never tell you what you should think. I will only tell you what I am thinking about. How about that? So there you go. And if you want to, smarter than cheerleading on a bunch of corrupt losers, that's your opinion about them. I find the Lincoln Project interesting because there are a lot of disaffected or disenfranchised or just pissed off Republicans that have left the Republican Party, and I think they're just as valid as anybody else who has some kind of political point to make. And whether you approve of what they're doing or not, I don't approve of everything they're doing. I find them interesting, and what they're doing is interesting, but I'm not going to ever tell you what to think about them. So, I just pass along things that I find interesting on Twitter and worth experiencing or reading about or whatever. And a lot of the time, it's not even necessarily, I share stuff that I'm like, I totally don't agree with. Usually I'll give it a little explanation and explain that I don't agree with it. But I would think now that people should know that I just share stuff that I find particularly interesting for whatever reason. I certainly do not tweet unless, it's something that Donald Trump has said, which I'll tweet and add commentary on it because, well, we've never had a president that's tweeted before. And you can do that. And in terms of swaying Republican voters, look, whether you voted for Trump or Joe Biden, what I think this election should show everybody is that people were engaged in the political process. Trump got more votes this time out than he got in 2016. And more people voted for Biden than in any other presidential election. So more people went out and voted, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. What I thought was most impressive about this election is how many people actually got out and went out and voted. So good on the American people for being more engaged in the political process. As for all of these other things that are going on, as I've tried to explain to people, on my presidential ballot, all the all of the what do you call them, down ballot initiatives and people, we're all on the same thing. They're all on the same ballot. So this idea that the presidential election was somehow rigged, but the other elections weren't. And if you look at the showing that the Republicans made in the Senate, there's not really a lot of evidence to think that there was any kind of voting shenanigans that went on. That doesn't make much sense. I mean, everybody forgets that we didn't just vote for the president this time. There was a lot of other people. And if the Senate were to go one way or another with a majority rule, then you would know. But the Democrats didn't exactly get a landslide in the in the Senate. So the idea that, we only tampered with the presidential vote, but we didn't tamper with the Senate vote doesn't make any sense, because the only way that a president can be as effective as they might want to be is if they also had the Senate and a majority in the Senate, which that wasn't the case. So the whole idea of voter tampering, look, I'm all for it. Let the states all count the ballots, recount them, let them look again. The truth should win out. But that's why this idea of voter fraud, I'm like, give me a break. That's like saying that every state is in collusion with one another and they're in collusion with the Democrats. Well, if that's the case, why is Mitch McConnell why was he reelected? Come on now. If you're going to use your platform to promote a product or service which may not work as intended, then I would argue against it. That is, if I happen to know about it, of course. Money is tight enough with COVID-19. I hear that Canadians receive $2,000 a month to weather the economic effects of the pandemic, but Americans do not. No, we certainly do not. I want to thank you for writing in. Always enjoy hearing from you. So yeah, thank you very much for that. Oh, wait. Oh, Richard, this comes from Grotebos, 1964. I know I'm killing your name. I'm killing it. Alkmaar, Netherlands, 9th of November 2020. Some questions about the upcoming short story competition. All right. Hello, Rob and fellow Post-Geek Singularity members. Yet another letter from me. Grotebos, 1964, Richard Van T. Number 4, this is.
Number 4, this is. As the title says, I've got a few questions.
I'm someone who loves to write, among other things. I've written a few short stories already and a book. A sci-fi one, of course, quite an elaborate one, 390 pages with more than 132,000 words. It took me some time to write and such over 3 years. As you may know, I'm Dutch, born and raised. I'm a huge fan of the Dutch. Monique van de Ven, Renee Stousendijk, Fons Rademacher, the director, Paul Verhoeven, Sharon Crabbe, Rutger Hauer. So English is my second language. I've got no Dick Moss is The Lift, or Amsterdam. I've got no problems with reading, speaking, and understanding English. Half of my media collection is without Dutch subtitles. I don't need them, except when they are talking Scottish, Irish, or Welsh. But writing in English is something I'm not so good at. I would give myself a 6.5 to 7 out of 10 for my writing skills. So now the question, how strict will the judges be on sentence structure, grammar, and spelling? Well, we will be editing your stories. So look, if the writing is just god-awful, I mean, there's nothing I can do about that. But if you've written a great story that needs a little grammatical help, we're happy to do that. Grammar and spelling will be mostly corrected by the spelling and grammar check of words. Sentence structure is the one left behind. I've got the first draft of the short story ready in my head as I'm going to write it down soon. First in Dutch, and when I'm satisfied, I will translate it into English. In chat, I've talked to Daniel Hoffman, and he's doing the same, only he does it from German to English. Ooh, I like that. I hope you have some info for us about the question above or in the near future. No, I would say, look, if you're from a foreign country, I will take that under advisement, and we will edit your work, and then you will have to approve it, obviously, but we're going to do that anyway. So just do your best. And if you're writing a story, we will handle it. So don't let the fact that you come from a foreign country and English is not your first language. Hell, write something in your entire foreign language, write it in Japanese, and put it through Google Translate in English. Send it to us. We'll figure it out. If it's a good story, well told. It doesn't necessarily mean your grammar has to be. Just remember, by the way, and we'll have it on the entry form, whether English is your first language or not, so we'll know. Now for something completely different in some way. This is about the competition for designing a book cover. I published my own book, printed through a printing company, so I had to make the cover also. Before you make a cover, of course, you need to know the size of the book. In my case, I wanted an A5. The dimensions were 326 millimeters, including a spine of 23 millimeters, times 216 millimeter, inclusive of a bleed of 3 millimeters. I made a cover that wraps around the book, link to my design. Ooh, I will link to your design. I'm going to see it. I hope you don't mind if I link to it. Oh, that's a nice cover. But now I want to know what Tweesprach means. I like this cover. Is that an original painting, or did you license that painting? I want to know. It's pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to put this in. I only have one criticism for you, and I think the font could be better different, but that's not for me to say. But I like the book cover. So I'm giving this to everybody. Everybody, here it is. That's anyway, I'll go on. We don't know yet what the size of the book will be that you're going to make with the entries of the competition. That's a problem. We're not going to know. If we do, we can get started with the design, but there's one little problem. Once we know the book size, all but one of the dimensions are fixed. The one that's not is the spine. Yeah, we're never going to know that. The width of the spine depends on the number of pages. So the kind of paper, the thickness, and if it's a paperback or a hardcover. So that's, I think, something the cover designers have to do afterwards. Well, I'll tell you something. If you don't have artwork going over the spine itself, if the spine's clean and you just put artwork on the front and the back, then we can expand the spine and based on whatever. But I would say that the what I was thinking of is, here, you know what? Let me grab this. So, yes, everyone's favorite Star Trek sex toy, it's V'ger. I was thinking about something like this. So this is the Dark Harvest first edition of Night Visions. If you collected Dark Harvest books, I still am, but they're not around anymore. So this is the version of Night Visions 1. I was thinking that the anthology would be something like this. And this is pretty much a standard hardcover size. It does have on all my collectible books, I have Brodarts on the cover. But I did want to have it's a book like this that'll have a slipcase. This is an old slipcase, but something like that. So this is a standard hardcover, like an American hardcover, because I know that in Europe and things they're different size. I don't know if it says. This is signed. This is copy 116, the deluxe first edition of Night Visions 1. It's signed by Charles L. Grant, Tanith Lee, Alan Ryan, Steve Rasnick-Tem. Look at that. Pretty cool. Signature page. Wow, this is published in 1984. This book's 36 years old. I love this series. I love the Night Vision series. It was so good. Loved it. So that's kind of what I was thinking of. Your standard American hardcover. But again, like you said, I have no idea what the spine's going to be. All the stories are between, of course, 5,000 and 10,000 words. And I'll have to decide. But you know what? If you give us, it's not like your design can't be altered and changed when we can give you the exact dimensions. I would say that on the 2nd of December, I will have solved this or answered this question, and I will send everybody the dimensions. But you artists out there, just leave your designs so we can, if we have to change them, and obviously we're going to have to put stuff on the spine that we don't quite know yet. So that's all for now, Rob. Good luck to all the writers and designers. Greeting from Grotabas, 1964, Richard Van T. I like Richard Van T because I can say that. But these are good questions. For those of you who don't know, because I haven't published this yet, Robservations after the film festival is done, which, remember, ends in a little under 3 weeks. We're going to start the short story competition. We're going to open it up for entries beginning December 2nd. We are also going to have a book cover contest. The book that we're going to be publishing is called The Imagination Connoisseurs, and it's going to be an anthology of short stories. And all that is the title, and that is the premise. I don't know how whatever that means to you. Write a story about what is an imagination connoisseur, what makes an imagination connoisseur, what can happen to you if you are an imagination connoisseur. I don't know, because an imagination connoisseur never stops imagining what their story can be. So the name of the book is going to be The Imagination Connoisseurs, and we're looking for short stories between 5,000 and 10,000 words, and we are going to pick one of those stories, and we're going to make a movie. I'm going to direct a film version of it. Hopefully it won't be that expensive. But and hopefully I want the winners. The contest ends on February 14th. You can submit as much as you want, whenever you want, up to February 14th, and we are going to announce the winner on March 1st, and then we are going to begin pre-production on the film, and hopefully that film it will be done on May 15th, which is my birthday. So there you go. And I think that's pretty cool. I think it'll be fun. We'll see how that all goes. And Cal Kamau is from Swag Props is here. Let's see. You know what? I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna save this letter, Cal. I'm gonna save it for whining about movies. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. I will. Let's go back. Let's go back there. And what are you guys saying? You guys are. Let me go back and let's see where we were at. Willow is here. Willow says, "Have you ever discussed making the footage that you had to remove from The Hills Run Red into a deleted scene special feature? The more you talk about them, the more curious I get." Oh, you dirty girl. I know you do. No, I'll tell you what the reason we didn't do that is if you were going to show deleted scenes anywhere, you'd have to get the permission of the actors. And I don't necessarily think that we would have, nor do I think I don't think the studio would have approved that. We did sneak images of those scenes into the special features of The Hills Run Red. But, yeah, I think it would just be problematic. So, yeah. We thought about it, though. And, maybe one day I'll slip you a link. Shh, don't tell anybody. Our moderator, Joshua Levesque, is here. Hey, Rob, I saw you appear in John Campia's movie trailers, A Love Story trailer yesterday. I totally agree with what you said. I love feeling amped after seeing a trailer. Have you seen John's documentary? Can you tell us anything? How much will you be in it? Well, I was a producer on it. I was either the co-producer or the associate producer. I was supposed to be a co-producer. I don't know if they changed my title to associate producer, but either way, I was me and John. But it's mostly John producing it, but I helped him out because I helped him get talent. No, I'm in the film. I'm one of the talking heads, and I basically give everybody a little primer on where movie trailers came from. But I'm in the film throughout, along with everyone else. So I appear in it. And so yes, I've seen it, and right now I'm trying to see if I can sell it. So that's where we're at, and it's a lot of fun. I think everybody who sees it is going to have a lot of fun. Now, over the last 24 hours, I just wanted to say that Claude Hibbert became a member of the channel. John Ortiz, Christian 301291 became a member. Douglas Baird became a member. And John Suntress from the Word Balloon podcast became a member of the channel. Thank you for that. The proceeds, of course, will be able to allow us to do things like print a book. So that's what's going to be helpful there. David Crabtree. Hello, David Crabtree. By the way, happy Veterans Day, sir. David Crabtree says, happy Veterans Day to my fellow vets of the U.S. Armed Forces. My discharge was actually for a service-related injury. Oh, man, I didn't know that. Nerve damage in the leg, but I've been more fortunate than many. Please help out and support those vets in need when possible. Yes, sir, David. I completely agree. Thanks for writing that in. Mr. Tickle Trunk sent in a super chat. Well, thank you, Mr. Tickle Trunk. I love that. I love it. Never ceases to make me chuckle when I see that show up. Raymond Verrata sent in a tip and says, I was intrigued by your fascination with the panning of Wild Mountain Times trailer by reviewers across the pond. Though I'm not used to listening to the Irish accents, I can't judge. Either can I. But by just watching the trailer, the story looks predictable. It does, but I'll watch anything set in Ireland. I've never been to Ireland, but I'm a total sucker for anything set in Ireland. I love Irish people, Irish redheads. I remember, Tom Cruise's accent in Far and Away. You're a corker, Shannon, a corker. I can never do a good Irish accent, but I'm like, what's a corker? I don't know. Corker, I get it, Tom. Benson sent in a super chat and says, Rob, different topic. Where did you source your astounding Space 1999 collection? Can you show us a few? I can. Would you like to see? Here, wait. Let's see. So, let's see. I'm looking at my shelf. I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, see what happened? Hang on, I just have to get the pieces now without breaking them. Dun, dun, dun. So I take things down and I break things in real time. So this is from. Well, hang on. Let me change the camera angle. So there's a company that about 15 years ago called Product Enterprises out of the UK, and they made Eagle transporter models. Actually, let me. No, this goes here. So they make. Wait, I didn't change the. So these are, I have many Eagle transporters. So they have now rebranded themselves as 1612. So 16, the word 1612, 1612 collectibles. And they have taken to making die-cast model Eagles. I mean, they got metal engine bells. I mean, these Eagles are awesome. And they do episode sets. Like this is from the second season episode, Immunity Syndrome. So it comes with, this glider that from that episode, and they've done episode packs for like New Adam, New Eve, and then these are just the ones like closest. This is of course Commissioner Simmons VIP Eagle from Breakaway, which is great. And now they're gonna they've done. You can go to their website 1612.com. So it's 16 and then the number 12 all one word.com. And they're awesome, and they're making a bunch of stuff. They're expensive. They're actually kind of hideously expensive, but they are awesome. I just got a message that the interceptors from UFO are going to arrive, but these are really of very high quality. I mean, I would say these are better even than the ones they even got like the orange correct, the color, and of course, they come apart. Elizabeth doesn't understand why I have a bunch of these. She's like, why do you keep buying these Eagles? And I'm like, Eagles are like Pokemon, honey. You got to catch them all. But they're great. Now they're doing laser tanks. And, yeah, so they made, I didn't get these because I was too late on the draw. They made 44-inch what's called studio scale. They made 44-inch versions of these that are like, I think they're 2,500 pounds each. I mean, where was I going to get that kind of money to spend on an Eagle transporter? But if I had it, I would like, yeah, click, I'll buy that. Thank God they didn't have layaway. But they do a really good job. These are of very, very, very high quality. Also, there have been model kits. Round 2 has released model kits, so I've got a number of 22-inch Eagles as well, and including my old Polar Lights, or not Polar Lights, when they were Product Enterprises. I still have my 22-inch Eagle. But yeah, so go there and they will help you out. You know what they're making? They're making Hawks from War Games. Those are coming out next. Woohoo! And what they do is you pre-order them and then they ship them to you when they come. They ship worldwide. They're pretty rad. I mean, 1612 is great. You know what I'll do? Why am I telling you this when I'll just send you a link? 1612, and I'll send you the link to like their page. They're making action figures. So if you go to the Diecast Eagle Transport Collection, let me get you there. All right, so they're sold out of most of their Eagle sets, but they've got the Dragon's Domain episode and the Infernal Machine and the Earthbound Deluxe set. So there's still a few. So here you go. And if you write in an order and you want to send a note, tell Angie that Rob Burnett sent you. Maybe she'll give me a discount. But yeah, so that's the one they have left. You can look at all those, but they're pretty great. And yeah, they're hideously expensive. But you know what? If you love your Eagles. John Stevens became a member. Thank you, John Stevens. Rick Ganther says R&B are existential Indiana Jones, but a film historian, imagination exploring version. The college professor we all wish we had. Oh, thank you. And only Connery could play the dad. Looking sharp today, Rob. As always, thanks for the show. Well, you're welcome. That's very nice. Cheers to you. Well, Rick, thank you. Cheers to you. Apparently, we park our VIP Eagle transporters in the same Eagle hangar. So there you go. Thanks for that. It's very nice of you to say. Paul in Long Beach is here. Paul says, I'd like to congratulate Delaware, Wyoming, South Carolina, and South Dakota on being the first states to certify their election results. In other news, the Russian and Cuban socialist vote riggers got all the way to Cheyenne and apparently to Iowa. We held them in the Rockies through Rob. We stopped their butt cold. The Lions have pretty much stabilized now. Wolverines! Man, there's a, you know what? I saw Red Dawn when they still had the scene in it. They cut it out because there was a shooting when the Russian tanks went through the drive-thru at McDonald's. That's very funny. The Russians and the Cuban socialist vote riggers got all the way to Cheyenne. I loved it. Brendan Sheehy is here. Brendan says, Rob, what is your favorite trailer within a movie? Grindhouse and Tropic Thunder are probably the most cited examples, but for me, my personal vote would be Arnold Schwarzenegger as Hamlet. Was that in Last Action Hero? That's pretty good. That's a pretty interesting question. I'd have to think about that. Favorite trailer within a movie? Well, I mean, I have to say, as somebody who made a movie that has a trailer within a movie, I'd have to say the trailer for The Hills Run Red that's in the movie The Hills Run Red for a movie that doesn't exist. So I'm gonna be self-aggrandizing and say that. How about that? Mark C says, our own toxic fan, who isn't really a toxic fan, you say you continue. Mark C says, you say you continue to watch New Trek because you love Star Trek. While it carries the name, remember one thing, you are not watching Star Trek. It's not that they don't understand. They don't care. They have their own agenda. It's true, they don't care. They want to make their own show. But still, I still kind of have to know. I kind of have to know. Because it is, Star Trek has been an ongoing concern. It's older than me. So I'm curious to see how it changes and alters. And I think the real difference is this is the first time Star Trek has been made without a direct connection to Gene Roddenberry. Because remember, Rick Berman worked with Gene Roddenberry at the creating Next Generation. And Rick Berman was on Star Trek for 25 seasons and 18 years and 4 feature films. So whether you like all the Rick Berman era Star Trek, it all sprung from Roddenberry because he was there for the first years of Next Gen. He was calling the shots, and the first Star Trek really that didn't even have him as a consultant from the get-go was Star Trek 09 and the entire Kurtzman era. So there is no loyalty to anything that came before. Jason Webster became a member. Max World Entertainment became a member. Well, thank you, sir. Brian Sutter became a member. Larry Holt became a member. Well, thank you. John Ortiz goes on to say, a friend dropped off Secret Agent Man, a.k.a. Danger Man, with Patrick McGowan. I love Secret Agent Man by Johnny Rivers. I also love the Spanish language version on Repo Man. It's true. The Criterion collection of Repo Man arrived today. Cabin Fever is getting to me. Oh, Repo Man. I'm so glad you got Repo Man. I love Repo Man. Mark C says, about aging and time. Time is a companion that goes along with you on a journey and reminds you to cherish every moment because they will never come again. What is that from? I know what that's from. Hang on. I'm going to find out. Let's see. Star Trek Generations. I knew that was from Star Trek Generations, but there you go. And I thought you were going to write time is the fire. That's what I expected to say, time is the fire in which we burn. Alexander Wilson sends in a tip and says, I was listening to a show that had Dr. Greg Carr, Department Chair of Afro-American Studies at Howard University, talk about his love on comic books and how they shaped his life. I would pay money to hear you interview him. Any thoughts? That's a great idea. I'm still trying to get Quinn Snyder. Don't worry. I haven't given up. I would love that. Howard University, I was talking to, Rodney Barnes, the writer of Philadelphia, and he went to Howard as well. And look what he's done. He produced the Wu-Tang miniseries. He did Boondocks. He's writing Philadelphia. He did Marvel's The Runaways. And he was a great interview. Total geek too, man. I love talking with him. That's a great idea. I love that idea. I'm gonna call him up. Maybe I can interview him. Kinky Sphincter, all right, sent in a super chat and says, "Hey Rob, have you ordered from Zavvi before?" Yes, I did. I am not too confident in their packaging for Dawn of the Dead. I heard that about Zavvi. I ordered the Studio Canal. Flash Gordon set, the big, thick 5-disc Flash Gordon set. It was pristine. But I've heard the same thing, and I would worry about Dawn of the Dead. That's why I made other arrangements. But I was okay with Zavvi, absolutely. So I would recommend them, but if your thing comes smashed, don't shoot me. Alexander Wilson goes on to say, also, Dr. Carr showed the first African-American written, illustrated, and published comic book that came out in 1947. Wow. I'd never seen or heard about that history before. It was great to learn how black history and culture influenced comics in the 1970s. Oh, totally. Yeah, I mean, absolutely it did. Yeah, he would be a great interview. I would love that. Maybe I'll call him up and ask him to be on the show. I think it'd be good. John Ortiz comes back and says, Rob, I turned 65 3 weeks ago. Wow, I was 10 when the original series premiered. I get a kick out of you when you say you have one foot in the grave. I came across my collection of Cinefantastique. I'm looking at the summer of 1972 for $1. Amazing cover. What is on the cover? Is that the white cover? The first issue? The white cover with the drawing? Oh, God, I'm forgetting which cover it is, but I know you would know what it is because you're looking at it. R.I.P. Fred Clark. I knew Fred Clark. Yes, he was an interesting man. Captain Beanzino sent in a super chat and said, I watched The Deer Hunter for my Veterans Day movie. Blown away by the Walkman and De Niro's scenes in the film. Film captures PTSD in such a unique way. Man, I have to tell you, my mom who took me to see Coming Home, that I was talking about on John's show today, and The Deer Hunter, my mom, I can't believe that my mother took me to see The Deer Hunter. Was I like, well, I think I was 12, right? Let me find out. The Deer Hunter release date. Let's see. The Deer Hunter came out, on February 23rd, 1979. So I was 12 when I saw it. On February 23rd, 79, I was 11. I hadn't even turned 12 yet. I was 11. My mom took me and my sister to see The Deer Hunter because she thought, it's The Deer Hunter. What? How bad can it be? Man, that was pretty traumatic. As an 11-year-old, I was like, oh, those scenes, they were hardcore. I actually do love The Deer Hunter. And, of course, went on to win Best Picture. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kind souls, gentle beings from across the 28 known galaxies, I am going to bring this to an end because we are going to do Whining About Movies at 8 o'clock tonight, not 7:30, because we won't make it in time for 7:30. So we're going to have to do it at 8 o'clock. So join us. I want to wish a happy Veterans Day to our past, present, and future men and women in uniform. Thank you for your service. My father was one of them. And remember the sacrifice so many have made so we can live in this great country and accuse one another of voter fraud. So don't forget. But in all seriousness, I've been proud to be working with military officers currently on crisis medicine, and check all that out if you can. Because I think you'll find that interesting. The class, it's one of the things that I'm most proud of. I've done it over the last 3 years. I'm actually working on a trailer for a new crisis medicine class now, in terms of everything else I've been doing. But I'm very proud of crisis medicine. I mean, I've done over 55 hours of programming for them, and the classes anyway. At any rate. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank my moderating staff. I want to thank Mike Bodden. I want to thank Greg Smith. I want to thank The Richard. And you can always find The Richard over at the Post-Geek Singularity Facebook page and the Whining About Movies Facebook page. I want to thank Joshua Levesque for being here. Robert Pariso is here. MC Blackcap is here. So thank you guys for doing that. I don't know who else there. I think that's everybody. Yeah. And I want to thank everybody for supporting the channel generously with super chats and becoming members and tips and all that. It's going to help us keep doing things like buy trophies for the film festival. So I really appreciate you guys and everybody for supporting the channel in that way. Be back here at 8 p.m. And we are going to talk about the James Bond film, The Spy Who Loved Me from 1977. A return to greatness for the Bond franchise after Live and Let Die and Man with Golden Gun. I like to call it Roger Moore's Goldfinger, but it's not just that. It's oh so much more. And look out, hopefully tomorrow I will drop it one more time. Our new show, it's a pre-recorded show. It is not a live show. It is this. So, once again, I also want to thank Jason Spriggs for the artwork he has done on the show, but you'll see his credit because it's on the show. It'll be on the show every week. It'll be a weekly show, probably half an hour long. This episode's a little less than an hour, where Dieter Bastian from Saarbrücken, Deutschland, and myself celebrate physical media. And with that, I bring episode number 554 of Robservations, the show about something, to a close. And remember, every person you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear. And all you have to do, oops, I did too fast. All you have to do is listen. And I mean that. And with that, I say, have a better day. Come back at 8 for The Spy Who Loved Me. Nobody does it better.